Hello, welcome. It's Facebook Live again, and it's Karen from Nurture Parenting. Now, I've just had to get the lights out because it's slightly dark outside today, and I've blinded myself with a set of lights. That was quite funny. So, today I'm going to announce the lucky winner from last week. I'm also going to do a heap of questions. Now, I've just got to answer a question quickly for a mummy who's at home with her baby settling. Should I still wake? Yes, Alice. Right, just answering a question there for a mummy about a baby's napping. So I want to go over. Hope that down. Right, I'll be with you 2 seconds, people. It's just replying to questions. Right, okay. All the nap crises are now over, and Karen is back again. So thank you for being patient with me. So last week we did a Facebook Live competition to win a baby massage ebook and video to give to a friend. So the lucky winner from last week is Kerry Witts, and she has won my Nurture Parenting baby massage ebook that I've written myself, and I starred in the video, and she gets to give a video to a friend as well. Now just excuse me a moment while my glasses steam up. Obviously going to have one of those days today, I have a feeling. Oh, technology, life. So this week was another busy week from Karen and the crazy goings on of a baby whisperer. And I'll give you a little insight into my world of what I've been up to this week. So I went to Manly on the weekend, and I was... No, I'm not flooded again today, Laura, but the rain is starting to come and I had to get the lights out, so... You know, lighting, camera, action. Now, can you all hear me well this week? Can you? Is the sound good? Give me some love hearts if it's good. So I'm going to introduce you something Karen's got new. She's got some ear pods from the Apple shop. So I can literally control my life with these ear pods and Siri. So I can talk to Siri and I can get her to do things, which is like magic. I think it's absolutely amazing. So I'm very happy with my ear pods. If you wonder what these little white things are, that's what they are. So yay for Apple and ear pods. So this week I went to Manly on Saturday, and I also do child behaviour work. I'm not sure that many people know that about me. And I went to help a mummy with her 3-year-old, who's nearly 3, she's called Millie, with her emotions. I'll give you a little bit of background. Millie's mum, she didn't have the best childhood, and she had not been able to manage and regulate her own emotions as a child. Her parents have been very, very absent in her childhood, which is really sad, I know, but it's a fact that these things did used to happen. They still happen, unfortunately, within families, and whenever she'd been sad or angry or upset or just, you know, having a meltdown like all of us get, her parents had actually shut her away in the bedroom, which what that does then is it internalises all the emotion and all the frustration and all the anger. So as an adult now, she struggles to manage and regulate her own emotions. So what we do with children is so vital for later on in life. I mean, luckily this mum is highly intelligent. She's got money to be able to access support from psychologists and psychotherapists and counsellors, as well as psychiatry, etc. So she's got a good medical background, you know, backing, and she's got the counselling there to support her with her path as a parent. And how confronting is it, you know, when you've had that experience yourself, and then suddenly you've got this child and it's overwhelming, and you're going to have to help your child with their emotions. So I went over there to do that, and this little girl at 3 was wanting her mummy to carry her around the shops. Now at 3 they're getting quite heavy, and mum's back was not all that great. So we had to manage this issue in the middle of Manly, okay? And it was really quite interesting for me as a baby whisperer, because I went along and obviously I was pretending to be her friend. I wasn't there in any uniform, I was just being Karen. And so we walked through Manly Town Centre on a Saturday afternoon, and this tantrum just evolved. It just happened because she asked to be picked up. And Mummy said, no, you're too heavy now. Mummy's back's very sore. Mummy can't carry you. She's very sorry. We got down at eye level. We gave her the explanation. And then the mother of all tantrums arrived, and it carried on all through the shopping centre. We tried to stop, and as you know, you can't reason with a child when they're really angry. And we had to get to the library before a certain time. We had a few things we had to do. We had time constraints. And so we had this tantrum all the way through, and then we finally got to the library, did what we had to do, and then we sat down again with her. And by this time she'd worked through her tantrum, so there's no point reasoning with a very angry child because it just doesn't work. We tried, failed, so we just decided to let it work its way through. We kept turning around to look at her, so she knew that we were there, but we weren't completely ignoring her, but we weren't giving it full attention either. So we got to just outside the library in Manly, and we sat down on the pavement. And she was having the massivest tantrum. It went on for about 20 minutes, did this in total. And the amount of comments, sort of looks, some were nice, some were not so nice. There's a girl there who was in her early 20s, and she's probably a student. She's there with a laptop out. And very passive-aggressively, she turned around and looked at all three of us, and she went, shh, shh. I was like, but what? I thought, I was stunned that she'd actually done that. Because often people just think things in their head. They don't actually verbalise it and actually show you what they're actually thinking. But she did. And I don't think she realised just how that would make her mum feel. And if that mum had been there by herself and she'd seen that, she'd probably be very, very upset. But because I was there, it sort of like diffused the situation. But yeah, that's what happened. So that was absolutely fascinating. And we got through our day with no more tantrums after that, and she didn't ask her mummy to pick her up ever again, so that was a win-win. So that's how you manage a tantrum when you don't want to pick your child up. But we had to decide, was this something that this mum wanted to do long term? Was it going to be, this was the line in the sand that was never going to happen again? And once we did that, she never asked again. We said, we've got the stroller here, or you can walk. You have an option, you have a choice. And in the end, she took the stroller, and then she walked part of it as well. And then we did the labelled praise for rewarding her for walking or going in the stroller, and, and it was just a really lovely afternoon after that, but fascinating job. And just what it feels like to have a child who's tantruming all through, a busy town centre, and just what people do. So I saw it very much as an outsider. So there you go, that was Karen's experience at the weekend. So all sorts has been going on. So now we're going to get on to this week's competition. And this week I was having to think about what shall I give away this week. So I think I would like to give away 5 things this week. 5 things. So I was thinking that this week I would give away 5 baby massage videos. Now these videos, they star myself, Karen, and you get to see me massaging a little baby who is 7 months old. And it is beautifully shot. It is a 17-minute video. You look down and sideways on, so it's got like a split screen, so you can massage your baby in your front room on your TV with me in real time, or you can do it on your laptop and watch me. But isn't it amazing that you can do that? And it's like we're doing a group together, which I think is absolutely fabulous. And if I had my way, every baby in Australia would be having baby massages. Every baby. Every child would, every adult would. Everybody deserves a massage, I think. I think it should be compulsory, and I think the government should pay for it. And we should all be getting those sort of little treats. Because when you look after yourself and do self-care, you just feel so much happier. Oh, okay, now slightly warm today. So I'm going to come back to last week's question that I didn't answer from Gemma. Now Gemma's got this little girl called Harper, and Harper's going to school, sorry not to school, to daycare very soon. Right, let's just get back to my little messages there. Okay. And she's wondering about what to do about this daycare and just whether Harper's sleep is going to come undone or whether things are actually going to be okay. And I think that's every parent's worry, is daycare and what's going to happen. So you think, right, I've got my sleep all organised at home. My baby's sleeping amazingly in that sleep environment. And then suddenly you've got a change going to happen. And it's just incredible, isn't it? It's just, we have this panic, we have this, the change is going to happen. So she's going to daycare in early May. And how do we manage the transition, she says. Okay, so to manage transitions, we need to do things gradually, but babies actually cope really well with change. So as long as your baby's self-settling, which I know Harper is because I helped her with her sleep a few months ago, that we try and keep things really constant. We look at what sort of sleeping bag or sleep clothes we're using. When we go to daycare, just have a look at the daycare's environment. And I go into quite a few daycares, and do they have a dark room? Do they have other children in there? Is your baby going to go in a cot? Are they going to go into a little camp bed? What are exactly they going to be using? How exactly do they put babies off to sleep? What happens if babies cry? What do they do then? A lot of daycares pat, and as many of you know, Karen is not really a fan of the patting. So I would have a little chat with daycare and say, can you please not pat my child? So then you're probably thinking, what do you tell your daycare to do? Well, I had one daycare that they were doing the parental presence thing that I do, and they were actually sat by the actual cot, and they just were doing some paperwork, and that was all that child needed, was just somebody sat by them. So then it's a win-win for the nursery, for the daycare, because then they can do their paperwork but still have that child get off to sleep. And it'll only take about a week, 10 days to get on top of change with daycare, and as long as the days are regular. But I would have, you know, a little chat with that daycare, the owner in charge of the daycare, and I'd have a little chat with the person who manages your child's room. I'd also be looking at their food as well, what sort of food they give them, and is it similar to what you have at home? But I think ultimately most babies will sleep really, really well in daycare, but there are some babies that won't. And there's some babies that I know that never cope well with a changing routine. And I think you've got to look at the daycare. Does your child like that daycare? And I've had some children really struggle with daycares, and they're mainly boys. So I think if your child isn't settling in daycare after a couple of weeks and things are not really good, then maybe it's time to look at something other than daycare. Maybe we need to look at things like family daycare or nanny share or au pair or something like that, because not all children cope with being outside the home environment. And the only way you're going to know is by trying it. However, Gemma, I think that your little girl Harper will adapt fine. She was very responsive to how we settled her when I came to help you, so I don't anticipate any problems at all. I also have a lovely video on how to manage transitions to daycare, and I'll get Julie to send that link on, and then you can have a little look at that, Gemma. So hopefully it goes well, and waving the wand for Miss Harper and her daycare. Alrighty, looks like I've got a few little questions coming in, so it looks like it's a little busy little grapevine today. Alrighty, let's have a little look and see what has arrived in the inbox. So I hope you're all doing well this week, and it's a pleasure, Gemma, absolutely fine, love. So I'm sure things will go well, so can't wait to hear. You let me know how things go. So I'm going to now have a little look and see what else we've got in the inbox to talk about today. And seeing a little flurry of questions come in. Righty. Right, I've got Annika, who's going through the same thing as what Sandra's going through. Okay, let's have a little look at all that, see all. Goodness, there's a lot come through. Right. Okay, and we have a little issue with Jack as well, I can see, so I'll come to that. Sorry, with Joseph Jack, so I'm going to come to that soon as well. Right, I'm going to start first with Sophie. So she says, hi Karen, Harris is now 6.5 months old. He still wakes a few times at night, but settles relatively easily these days. I resettle if it's been before 12, otherwise feed and put back to bed if it's after 12. He can then sleep through till 5:30 and wake. The room is pitch black, but he still wakes before 6. I feed him because it's been over 4 hours, and I really don't want to wake his sister because she's a light sleeper after 5. But days like today, he doesn't go back to sleep. Any ideas? He's also now eating 3 solid meat foods a day, mainly homemade porridge with a bit of puree, pear or banana or mashed avocado. So absolutely, Sophie, I can answer that question for you, no problem at all. So Harris is like a lot of the babies that I see, quite a definite little personality. He's not keen on sleep training. He's not keen on being resettled. He's not keen on having his, hi Meg, how are you going? He's not keen on having his routine changed at all, isn't Harris? So we're going to have to do some sleep training again with him just to get him back on track. It'll only take a couple of nights, Sophie, to get him sorted. By day 4 or 5, his food will get sorted. Now, to sort him out, I would actually pull the rug on these feeds because I know his weight's fine, I know he's thriving. So I would not feed him and absolutely resettle before midnight, but I want you to resettle after midnight as well and not feed him before 6, okay? I know you're worried about your little girl. So what you could do is move her into your bedroom if that's helpful. I'm not sure where she's sleeping at the moment, whether she's sleeping with him or where she's at. I presume that she's in with him, Sophie. So put her into your bedroom, do some camping out on the floor for up to a week. Just make it a fun thing, and then we're going to really get on top of Harris and get him sorted. So I would do a check-in method to start with to see how that goes. So I would put him down at night time and do the settling stuff. When he wakes before midnight or after midnight, I want you to wait for 3 minutes. Now this is the 3-minute magic I'm going to give you, and it's 3 minutes of constant crying. And then I want you to go into him and do a mantra and say to him, "Night night Harris, sleepy time to go to sleep now, don't touch him," and walk straight back out again. So you're going to look at him past his head, okay? So not look into his eyes, but just past his head. And then you're going to go back in at increasing intervals. So for example, it might be like 1 minute, after 3 minutes, then after 5 minutes, but you go in according to the cry. So when he's really escalating, go in. And I don't usually pick them out till the 2nd or 3rd occasion because I don't want to reward that behaviour so quickly. When you do a cuddle, it's a 30-second cuddle, that's all you do. Now, if you find by 20 minutes, half an hour, he's not coping with this, then we need to do the method where I taught you before, where we sit by the cot, and this time you put your hand on the mattress and not onto Harris. And then each week you move away with your chair till by week 6 you're by the door. So I would do the check-in method. Most babies take 1 to 2 hours to resettle. I know it seems like a long time, but you know, it is no pain, no gain. And within a week, your little boy should be sleeping through, and by then you can move your little girl back into her bedroom. Now, by day 4 or 5, when he's eating more food, we need to look at this food intake, because if he's not eating enough food, this isn't going to get maintained. So we've got to make him hungry to sort it out, like I said, Sophie. So we need to move on to things like, I look at doing the 3rd protein, a 3rd carbs, and low GI carbs, and a 3rd fruit or veggies in each meal, and making it calorie dense. So adding butter, cream, cheese, grated cheese, etc., mascarpone, ricotta into every meal. Peanut butter, avocado, all these things are really high in fat. We need the high fat content to help them with their sleep. So we're looking, for example, at an evening meal of giving chicken, sweet potato. I'd put some zucchini in there. I would then add some dried apricots, some stock, and cook that up. 20 minutes later, you got food, and there is a blog on that recipe. I would also look at giving a dessert as well, so like banana with rice pudding or banana and chia delight. Again, I'd add fat to that with coconut cream, and that will tick all the boxes. So you've got high tryptophan with the chicken and with the cheese and with the banana. So we've got 3 lots of tryptophan there. We've got the high fat, we've got the low GI carb with the sweet potato or the pumpkin, and same with the rice, the brown rice, and with banana. So again, tick, 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 tick on all those boxes. So important. Should I up the foods prior to the sleep training? No, Sophie. I would just, you know, you've got to make this little boy hungry. I think if he's having feeds after midnight and 2 or 3 feeds, I would just sort the sleep out first. I know you want to be kind to him, but this is actually being kind to him. Most kids I meet are not having enough solids. They're having nowhere near enough or the right sort of like nutrients. He should be having about 1 cup to 1.5 cups at each meal, but it often takes till day 4 or after a week till this appetite actually gets to where it should be. So I want you just to do the sleep training, and the food will sort itself out, because by not giving those foods at night, we're going to make the little boy hungry. And do finger foods as well, and then we've got a win-win, and eat with him. All really important little tips there. So I hope that's helped you, Sophie. And Harris can do this. I spent New Year's Eve with his family, and Harris didn't want to do it, but Harris did do it. So waving the wand, Sophie, and sprinkling the sleep dust, and I can't wait to hear how you go. So exciting. Now I am next coming on to, now I've got Christina and Luca. Christina's asked me a development question. So Luca is 9 months old. Do you have any videos on how to teach babies to walk? Luca is really determined. He constantly lets go of things and tries to come towards me. Laugh out loud. And I hold both of his hands all the time and walk with him, but that's about it. Now, I have lots of videos on YouTube, as many of you know, on development. And I'm big into doing tummy time. I'm big into getting babies crawling, getting babies rolling over, and babies sitting. And development has to be sequential. Now, at 9 months of age, he's still very young for walking. And I'm going to tell you about my own development, because it'll make you feel a bit calmer, will this, Christina? Now, babies that walk early, they tend to do less things with their cognitive and sort of that sort of learning, memory sort of stuff. So you either have babies that do great gross motor skills, or you have babies who are more cognitive and thinkers. Now, I fit into the thinker category, and I wasn't walking until I was 18 months. So some would say I was late with my development. Some would say I was delayed, possibly. Maybe I was a bit lazy. I think personally I was probably slightly lazy, but I like to sit and observe and do stuff. So I would not be worried about this in the slightest, Christina. I don't want you to do anything to encourage this walking. If you do that too early, then children never want to do things like crawling, and actually crawling is the most important thing, and as is all fours crawling. So all fours crawling is so important for learning. Kids that don't do all fours crawling have been linked to learning difficulties. So all fours crawling is the most important thing. And once you start to do things like walking, why does your child want to crawl? So I would not be pushing development on. I would just be going with Luca. And you can put like little low coffee tables around in your front room, so then they've got a little station they can stand up against. Things like those little stations that they can stand up in, those playstations with all the little activities around. I don't particularly like those used long term because it creates laziness, that they don't actually want to do floor time. Because once you can stand, why do you want to sit and crawl? Also as well, I don't like jolly jumpers or walkers because they encourage tiptoe walking. When you do tiptoe walking, it creates problems with your calf muscles and you have issues then with tiptoe walking, okay? So putting babies on the floor, I'd say that's probably the most important thing, Christina, and I would not be worried about the walking at all. Do not worry about these early walkers out there. I know a baby at 8 months and 1 week who's walking, but they're rare. Most babies walk at around 1 year old, and that is incredibly normal. So hopefully that's helped you, Christina, and hopefully that's given you the confidence just to let Luca do his thing. Do not push him on. Let him just be. It is more important, and that will consolidate his learning far better, love. All right, great question, though. Now we've got Linda and Matthew, 4 months old. So Linda, I met Linda through just chatting to her on the phone. Now Matthew was not a great self-settler when I talked to her. He's now doing great 1 to 2 hour naps. So day sleeps are amazing. And he has an awake time of around 2 hours, and he does at least 3 naps a day and 2 really long naps, which is fabulous. Big change for that little man. Now he's just over 4 months old now, 19.5 weeks. And previously he was doing a 6-hour stretch. A feed at 11:30, then again at 3, and up for the day between 6 and 7. For the past 1.5 weeks, he's been waking between 10 and been unsettled on and off for about half an hour. He'll resettle himself a number of times during this period and fall asleep for like 5 minutes, but then wakes and cries again. Some nights he will pass this window and go back to sleep on his own. Other nights he may need my help to resettle him back to sleep. And then there are nights when he needs my help, and I'll get him to eventually calm down, but then he spends 30 minutes to 1 hour tossing and turning and sucking at my fingers, not able to go back to sleep. At this point I would feed him, as he usually has a feed around 11:30. Then when I put him back in his cot after his feed, he will self-settle within 5 or 10 minutes. This morning he woke around 5 and was crying on and off like he does at 10 o'clock and sucking my fingers when I went to help him resettle. Help! What's going on? Should I be feeding him? Is he hungry? Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head just right there, Linda. I think your little man is hungry. I think he's telling you because he's not resettling for so long and he's sucking on his fingers. So when we've had lots of sleep-throughs, we get really loath to feed these babies because we go, no, I liked that sleep-through. I don't want this sleep to come undone. I don't want to have to wake up and feed my baby. No, suddenly I'm having to get up at night time. Oh, this is not good. And particularly it happens a lot. But you're spending so much time resettling him, Linda. Just feed him, okay? And don't let him wait for an hour of crying. Just wait for a few minutes. If within 5 minutes he's still, having a bit of a rant, then feed him. So between 3 and 5 minutes, if a baby's going to settle, it be within that time. After that time, I would just feed him. Now, you're not going to create issues with him because I know he's settling well in the day and he's self-settling, and that's the important thing. It is not going to come undone. Now, we need to look at food. And solids are really important between 4 and 6 months old. New guidelines that came out in June 2016 from ASCIA, which is ASCIA, the Australian Society of Clinical Immunologists and Allergists. And they're saying now, the latest research, if we give babies particularly things that are highly allergenic or more allergenic before 6 months, we can decrease that allergy by 80%, or the risk of that allergy by 80%, which to me is massive. So it is so important that we are listening to this research and we are following this research. So when I came from England 14 years ago, we were giving babies food in England at 2 to 3 months of age, which was not the guidelines and is way too early. But you couldn't really tell people in Salford or Manchester that, because that's what their families had always done. And our guidelines were 4 months at the time. I saw no allergies, no anaphylaxis. And I came to Australia, and the amount of allergies and anaphylaxis I was seeing, and we're giving food at 6 months of age. Now, before 6 months, the gut is quite porous. And so when you give these foods that are more allergenic, it gets into the bloodstream and can trigger the immune response, which helps prepare that baby for that food. After 6 months, the gut is less porous. It's more closed off the immune system. And as you know, your gut is your biggest immune system. So if you give these foods after 6 months that are more allergenic, i.e. things like peanuts, peanut butter, things like eggs, things like dairy, etc., then you're less likely to help that immune system. So if you can give egg or smooth peanut butter before 6 months of age, you can decrease those allergies, the incidence of them, by 80%, 80, which is like massive. So that's going to do huge things to health of babies and children. So if you don't prevent food allergy, particularly to do with peanuts, then often that peanut allergy is there for life, unfortunately. So I think we're doing our babies a great disservice if we leave all these foods till after 6 months. So we shouldn't be giving things like honey till after 1 year old. We shouldn't be giving raw egg till after 1 year old, but we should be giving all other foods, certainly from 4 months onwards. And there is no age now that we say that you should be giving egg at 10 months or 12 months. It is now 4 to 6 months. So really important. Okay. Yes, Laura says, hi Laura, so thanks to your help, Karen, we did no issues in giving Beatrix eggs from a younger age. And my sister did the same with her children. She gave them food at 3 months. She didn't listen to her sister. Her sister said 4 months, but that's okay. But they haven't got any allergies. Some of you will know my medical history. Now, I've got a lot of food allergies. I've got a latex allergy. I've got asthma, eczema, hay fever. I've got kiwi fruit allergy, pineapple, dairy. So, and, you know, I think it's just the bad luck of the draw. But if I can prevent other children from having food allergies, it is my mission. And I think it is so important. In the States now, some parents are actually taking out legal actions out on doctors who fail to give the right advice on solids. And I'd hate to see that happening in Australia, that parents are taking out litigation on medical people who haven't given the right advice. But medical people, nurses, doctors, we should all be giving the correct advice and following the guidelines. And that is the ASCIA guidelines. And I think that is so important. So as a nurse, a registered nurse and midwife, I have a duty to do those things. So helping parents out there everywhere. So back to Linda. Linda, I think this boy needs to start on food. The first sort of food, what would I give as the first food? I would start off on something like oven roasted pumpkin or sweet potato that I had pureed. So you're going to mix it with some liquid. Either breast milk or cooled boiled water, or if you're on formula. You can use cow's milk in cooking from 4 months of age, and on cereals and in custards. And again, I've got a blog about that. Because we have this little urban myth out there that we shouldn't be giving cow's milk till 12 months. Now, we fail to say we shouldn't be giving cow's milk as the main drink till 12 months, but we can use it in cooking and on cereals and in baking and cooking from 4 months of age. But obviously, you know, if you're worried about things like cow's milk or eggs or whatever, give those foods every 2 to 3 days and just see what happens. So within that time frame, that's when you'll know you get an allergy. So I'd look at more food, Linda. And week 1, just give a few teaspoons once a day. Week 2, give a few more teaspoons once a day. And week 3, give 2 meals a day. Week 4, I would be giving 3 meals a day. If you're starting at 6 months, you can do it a little bit faster than that. Pear is a great food to give if you're worried about constipation or if your baby has been constipated. Avoid the white things. White things cause constipation. So if you're giving white things, look at fibre. So banana, I'd be putting some, chia seed in there. I'd be putting some brown rice in there. That would negate the effect of the banana. You can give wheat bix from 4 months of age as well. And then you're looking at finger foods from 6 months. So I hope that's helped, Linda. But I think your boy is hungry and he needs some food. All right, bye to Linda. Hope that's helped you. So next, I am going to come on to. So Beck says, Miles is still a bad eater. Hi, Beck. Hello, hope you're well. Oh, I can see Joanne there. Hi, Joanne. I'll come back to you, Joanne. So Beck says, Miles is still a bad eater and it's really interfering with his sleeping as he's waking and hungry, but he's now 2. He doesn't need bottles. Are there feeding clinics to get him to try new foods? There is a great feeding clinic in Wallara, and I will find out the link for you, Beck. And I know that some of this stuff has been to do with his reflux, so I don't think Miles is awfully straightforward. And I agree, when kids are not eating well, then they're not sleeping well. So I will find that for you, Beck. But really great eating clinic out in Wallara. Also, the Children's Hospital has a feeding clinic as well and a feeding team. So it might be worth trying a few little options there, other little avenues. But that's where I would be going. Okay, so next I'm coming to Jack with Joseph. So hi Karen, Jofi is going through a stage of not liking little boys his age and younger. This is recent. He screams if they come near him and won't share his toys, etc. And becoming an issue in daycare. Sometimes when upset he throws toys unintentionally, hitting another child. He's struggling to control his emotions and tries to use his words, but still screams and cries when they're in his vicinity. Can you help? Absolutely. So I've got a lovely blog on sharing, Jack, and I think that will really, really help you. Now, sharing is a big problem, and not all adults are great at sharing. I am not great at sharing food, particularly if it's my favourite food, and I've ordered it in a restaurant. So not all of us are great at this thing. It's something that we have to work on and become better at. So I'm going to out myself out there. I think it's only fair. So I'm not surprised at Joseph. So Joseph is a very definite personality. He's one of my toughest case of sleep training that I've had. And so he easily does some really quite strong emotional things. But it is extremely, extremely normal is this. So what I would do is, if he's not sharing the toys, I would say, right, you need to give it to this little boy for 2 minutes, and then you can have it for 2 minutes. Keep the time frame short and give labelled praise for praising that. When he has other boys coming near him and he's screaming, I'd actually take him away and do some quiet time with him and let him just calm down. So take him away to a chair, a quiet part of the house, the room, and sit him down with you and say, right, Joseph, you're going to sit here for 2 minutes and calm yourself down. When he plays nicely with other children or plays like you want him to, praise using labelled praise. But he's obviously feeling threatened. And it might be because somebody has bullied him, somebody's snatched his toy off him. You don't know the full story behind this, but you also need to demonstrate sharing at home. But children often do have preferences for certain genders. Sometimes children go off adult men for a period of time or don't like men with beards. I had a child who hated his granddad. He just would scream every time he saw him, and the granddad was taking it really personally. And it is a really, really normal thing. But we need to teach him about sharing, and that we demonstrate what sharing looks like, and we demonstrate it in the home as well as outside. And it's something that we need to really, really work on with him. But he's still quite a young little boy, so hopefully that's helped you, Jack and Suzanne. So we'll send that little blog on to you. Now, if he's hitting another child, then I'd pay attention to the child that's been hit, and I would take him away from the action. But I would say, oh, you poor thing, has Joseph been rough with you? Oh, bless, that must really hurt. Let me just rub that better. And just ignore Joseph and then take him away for some quiet time or some time out. Just to get him to calm down. And you can call it chill out time. You don't need to call it time out or quiet time. It's just time for him to get himself calmed down. And then I'll be talking about his little outbursts and his anger. There's a great book by Trace Moroney on anger. And so I will hunt that out for you guys and I'll send you a picture of it. But I think that will really help him with looking at his emotions, because it is big stuff. His anger, sharing, feeling threatened, and it is really common in daycare. In fact, my own little niece was bullied last week, and it really upset her, because Freya's very much like my sister and quite a softie, whereas Tilly is more like her auntie and a bit of a tough nut. And Freya was really upset, and it's often the first time they've actually felt threatened. So it's a very fascinating thing, is the toddler years. So I will get those things to you, Jack and Suzanne, and hopefully that's helped you. So next I'm coming on to Sandra. So Sandra sent in a message about, hi, my bub is 6 months old and I still feed her a couple of times a night, and in the day she self-settles and gives me 2 times 1.5 hour naps. Sometimes at night she will wake up at 10 o'clock screaming and is very hard to settle back to sleep. I end up feeding her because nothing else works. What tips can you give for a screaming baby? Potentially teething and none of the settling techniques work? Thanks in anticipation, Anika Spanika. Anika says she's going through the same thing as what Sandra is. Sorry, I thought it was the same person. It's not separate people. All right, so Sandra. Teething, none of the techniques. Right, so what sort of techniques have you tried, Sandra? That's what I'm curious about. Because it's important to get the right settling technique for the right child. So I want to know a bit more about that, about whether you're doing a check-in method where you go in and out, or whether you're actually sitting by the cot. And if you're sitting by the cot, how are you doing this? So many people, when they're sat by the cot, they're actually talking or shushing or singing or patting. It won't work. So that is an absolute no-no. So when you sit by the cot, it's a no interaction method. Literally, you're sat there and you're playing dead. I think you might need help with this, Sandra, to sort this out by the sound of things, but maybe a phone consult would do it as well. So sitting by the cot patting, aha, Sandra, the pat. Now, everybody out there knows that Karen really dislikes patting with a vengeance, like really dislikes it. I'm not going to use the word hate, but it is up there on my spectrum. So when you pat a child, you're creating a massive sleep association, and nearly every sleep consultant and sleep school in Australia pats. I don't. I'm the lone person out there that I think is not patting. I'd love to know if any other people who don't pat. I would love it if there's other people out there that weren't patting, but everybody out there is doing it, and I'm afraid they're just following like sheep, and they're just all doing the same thing, and they're not helping parents, and it gets me really angry. Yes, Miles hated the pat, Beck Jane. I totally agree. I think most kids hate patting, and it just irritates. Poor kid at sleep school with me, patting and patting. I know. But you're told by everybody in sleep school and every other sleep consultant to pat, so what do? You pat. I only stopped the pat when you arrived. Yes, I know, Beck. I banished the pat. So I don't pat at all. Patting will create... Yes, Joanne, I don't pat either. Good, excellent. We're going to create a new movement called the no pat movement. Gemma, yes, Harper hated the patting too. Sandra, yeah, she went to sleep school. That's why, Sandra. Unfortunately, they've been teaching you something that does not work. Laura doesn't pat. Yay for Laura not patting. I love the anti-patters. Let's start a new movement, the no patting movement. I think it's about time we had an anti-patting movement. I feel like starting off a little bit of a movement. Let's not do war. Let's do a movement. It's more positive. Okay, no pat movement, hashtag, love it. Let's start this off on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere. I think we should be talking about this more, about why are people patting? What exactly are they doing? Now, there's a great blog on the internet by Lynn Murray. She's a professor of psychology. I love Lynn, as everybody knows. Handsoff.com, love handsoff.com. Now, patting to me, sorry, I'll just go back to Lynn because I've just digressed. Lynn did an article about don't rock your baby to sleep if in 40 minutes time the baby can't rock themselves. That is the pat. That 4-month wonder week is the world of events, which are patterns, which are sequences. If you pat before 4 months or at 4 months and that pat is not there in 40 minutes time, that baby's going to keep on waking up. It's logical. Okay? I have toddlers who say, pat me, mummy, pat me. I have children who get hold of my hand and they're trying to make me pat them. They pat the mattress, they pat the bars of the cot. They try and pat anything in sight. Patting is it is really rhythmic. It is really an imprinted sleeping association. It is one of the biggest ones. And that's why I don't like patting. Yes, Laura, zero pats, hashtag. Hashtag pat-free settling. Hashtag don't touch me. Love it. Love it. You lot are so creative out there. So we're all on the no pat movement here at Nurture Parenting. Karen has never patted. She'll never pat in her life. When I came to Australia, I couldn't believe this patting. And I started to question it. And I go, does it work? And then I questioned it. I saw all these failures from sleep school and other sleep consultants. And because I've never patted, you see, I only knew what I was doing. I didn't know what anybody else was doing. And then when I started my business, I got these people failing sleep school. And I found out it was the pat. No. To me, patting, particularly if you've got a mum who's upset, or you've got a nurse who hasn't slept on a night shift, and she's patting this baby, she could be patting a little bit firmly. And I've seen patting that looks like slapping, and you know, it is the next thing to child abuse potentially. So I don't like using those words lightly, but I've seen patting that is actually moving the child up the bed. Yes, Beck says, don't start me on the shh and pat combo for an hour on end. It is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I don't shush and I don't pat. And those of you who know me out there will absolutely validate this. It is the thing that gets me on my little soapbox. So Sandra, you've set Karen off today. Yes, they love the hard pat at sleep school. I know. I think it is like slapping, and I'll call it child abuse. I don't like patting for that reason. I think it's wrong on so many levels, and I would like to see everybody in Australia stop patting, please. So the English girl here who came over here 14 years ago, and we never patted in England ever. So I had to work in England to be trained in England by psychologists, and we did all our home visiting. There's no sleep school over there. We didn't do patting. There was not a pat in sight, not one. So when I come here and all this patting, and for the last 5.5 years, I've been having a little crusade about my patting. Yes, haha, desperation, I know. When Beatrix did like patting, it only worked if you were patting her so hard that she was rocking, but if you tried to rock her, she would scream. Oh, Beatrix. She's a minx. But yeah, so you see, Sandra, we all hate patting out there because it hasn't worked. And these are mums you've just heard from now on my Facebook Live who know me personally, who have failed sleep school and everything else, and I've been to help them and their babies sleep. So take it from me, if you did the sitting by the cot thing and you didn't pat, you'd probably fix this, okay? But it's worth doing a phone consult with me if you're stuck, because there's lots of just other things apart from not patting. That it would take me like half an hour, 3/4 an hour to go through with you on the phone, so I can't really take up any more of Facebook Live for that. So I hope that's helped you, Sandra, and thank you for telling me that you patted, because that's really helped me know what was not working for you. So don't feel bad about it, it's just what you were taught, and they just need a little bit of updating on their methods, and they need to look at their methods. I wrote a blog about why I dislike patting. Yeah, Beck, poor Beck, failed six sleep schools, 1 weekend with Karen and a sleeping bub. So there you go, Sandra. Yay, 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 winning. Yeah, I know, it was Beck, amazing. And her baby had the most severe reflux, like horrendous. So there's plenty of things that can be done, but it doesn't involve patting. And you won't get RSI either. So I feel sorry for all the mums that are patting, because you're all getting RSI, you've all got hand issues, you've got back issues, bending over those cots. And all this repetitive movement, it's really not good for anybody. So I'm going to start that hashtag, the no pat movement, the no pat and shush movement, the hands off movement, and the everything else hashtag movement. So you made me laugh today, ladies. Thank you for that. I needed that today. So now I'm going to come on to the lovely Laura. Now, Laura's got a bit of a toddler conundrum. And little Miss Matilda, she is a little interesting personality. She's a lovely little girl. She's had heart surgery recently, and I think she's given you the runaround, unfortunately, Laura. And you are a lovely mummy, and her daddy's a lovely daddy as well. And I think Matilda is quite a strong personality. So I think we need to chat, Laura, about this. So I'm going to contact you. I'll either contact you today or tomorrow. Okay, just depends how my afternoon goes, love, but I'll let you know. But I think we need to chat about this. But this needs help fast, because this is what Matilda did. So sometimes that means she goes to sleep, but the most common outcome, though, is that I wake up after a few hours and she's destroyed the house. Handbag emptied all over the lounge room. cereal made in bowls, but then also milk emptied into the laundry powder container with dry cat food mixed in. Oh, gourmet, Matilda, gourmet. Eek. When she gets bored, she goes into Beatrix and wakes her up. I'm at my wit's end. So I'm sure some of you will have little Matildas out there. I deal with Matildas every day, and if you don't sort this out, Laura, I will be down to sort Matilda out. So I hope Matilda is listening. Is Matilda listening there today? She's a freaking Energizer bunny now, so now she's got her heart problem sorted out. She's running on like extra. She's got energy. And yeah, she's like her mama. Well, I always say apples don't fall far from the tree, Laura. Yep, that's Miles as well. I don't meet kids that are easy. Oh, she's at daycare. What a shame. Oh, and I've named and shamed her. Matilda, I am on to you, and I'm going to come and help Mummy with you. And we're going to get you sleeping and not doing any of this getting up in the night, because it is not okay. And definitely not mixing all these things together, because I would hate to be Mummy and having to clear all this up. I don't think that's much fun at all. And I think if we allow this to go, Laura, we're going to end up in big trouble. So she's already escalating a little bit. We're going to see some more escalation from Matilda, and I think we just need to get a little lid on that. Okay, so I will be in touch very soon, Laura. Hope that's helped you. So I don't think wand waving is going to do the trick. I think it might take me in person. Okay, right, so we've done all that. Right, who am I on to next? Who's next on my list? Which is quite a big list today, isn't it? Right, okay. Oh yeah, I had an interesting scenario this week. This is a mum with a 2-year-old, and he is settling really well now at night time. He was waking up a few times for bottles. Now he was waking up in the early hours. So I think it's got cold recently, and I think some babies not getting dressed as well as what they should do, taking into account that it's actually getting cold about 2-3 o'clock. And what happens is, yes, show the video live, please, Laura. I would love you to show her that live. And it might give you a good night tonight. At least if she knows I'm on the case. I think it might do, Laura. I think it's a great plan. It's a shame I can't do all my work through video and just say, I would like this to happen, please, because that would be lovely. Right, so this little boy, back to this 2-year-old. So this 2-year-old was waking in the early hours. Now, babies and children lose their body temperature 4 times as fast as what an adult does. So if we don't have their core warm, i.e. their top half and their arms, if that isn't warm enough, then they wake up and can't go back to sleep again. When babies and toddlers are cold, they often sleep on their tummies and scrunch themselves up into like the child's pose, trying to keep themselves warm. I like to put socks on kids in bed in winter. Now, children under 3 can't problem solve to put the doona back up on themselves. So what I'd be doing with this little boy here, so when he gets out of bed, I'd return him to bed and say, good night, and then I'd leave and see what happens. If he gets out of bed again, return him. Ask him to pull the covers back on himself. That's very important because children don't know to pull the covers back on themselves. I want him to realise that he's probably cold and needs to put the covers back on himself, so tell him that, give him an instruction, okay? Because then he might start to think about it. And if we don't say anything and just do it for him, it creates this learned helplessness. The 3rd time he gets out of bed, I would return to sitting on the chair to resettle him. But I think that's what this problem is. Now, there's a company that I've been helping the mum recently called Hello Night Kids. And mum's called Tu. So hi Tu. I'm going to be doing a competition with Tu soon. But she's got this lovely sleepwear that isn't a sleeping bag. It's actually separates. So it's got tops, it's got leggings, and like pyjamas. She calls it a wearable blanket. It's made of merino wool, so it's good for kids with eczema as well. But the good thing about merino wool is it's really breathable, and you don't need to have a tog value. It just keeps them warm at the right temperature. And so I think I'll be looking at just some better bedding for this little boy, this little 2-year-old. And I think socks are a great idea as well, but I'd have lots of layers on the top half. That's the important bit. But I'll be looking at what exactly that child is wearing, because no matter how much you crank your heating up, and that's what we tend to do in Australia, is crank the heating up, it's not going to work. We need to have layers of clothing that is breathable, and grow bags are actually made partly of acrylic, so I'm not really a fan of the grow bag at the moment, while it is acrylic. So I need things to be either cotton or merino wool. They are the best fabrics for breathability. So now I'm on to, next I'm on to, so I hope that's helped you there with that little toddler. So Kelly and Reese, 6 months. Again, same problem. Baby's waking around 3 o'clock. And yep, she's having exactly the same problem. So Kelly, I would say that it is a temperature control issue, and we need to be thinking about that and thinking about how, you know, we're dressing our kids for nighttime for winter. Sleeping bags are great, as are these sleep suits that I've mentioned. Anything that keeps them really warm, absolutely, because like I said, they can't problem solve. So blankets and doonas, not a great idea till they get to 3. So I'll be looking more at what actually clothing you've actually got on your children. That's the most important thing. So no matter how warm your room is, your child can still get cold. It is about their sleepwear. That's the most important thing there. All right, so let's see where we've got to with our questions today. Have I finished? Have I got to everybody? I think it looks like I may have. Let's just check on here. Anybody got anything else? Ergo bags are breathable cotton option like grow bags. Yeah, grow bags are not very breathable, but ergo bags are, Tara, and I totally agree. 5 to 5:30 a.m. waking, that's usually about melatonin, but it can be cold as well. So have a look at temperature control. Amy, enjoyed my book. Hi Amy, hope you're well, hope things are going well with Maddie. You've been teaching the self-settle and all good so far. Excellent, waving the wand for you, Amy, well done. And who else do we have here? Ooh, Michelle, hi. She's going to rewatch tonight. No problem at all, Michelle, totally understand. Yep, I think that's it. I think that's everybody. So unless there's anything else urgent coming up? What should the room temperature be, Sandra? So between 16 and 20 I like. If you've got aircon, it might need to be a little bit warmer than that. But I'm a fan of 16 to 20 because the cooler your room and the warmer you dress, the actually better you sleep. So because I'm from the north of England, I have a liking for a cold room. I actually sleep in winter with my doors open. Obviously with a security screen in place and locked in place, but I love to have the cold air coming in my room and I sleep much better, and just having lots of toasty layers on, so important. So to this week, this competition. So you need to like my Facebook page, Nurture Parenting's Facebook page. You need to like this video, this post on Facebook. And then I'm going to be drawing 5 lucky winners out to win 5 baby massage videos. So send me lots of love hearts in, because Karen likes lots of love hearts. She likes the likes as well, but she likes the love hearts especially. And the more love we can spread around the world, the better it is. And I feel giving 5 massage videos away, spreading lots of love out there. So I can't wait to see who's won this week. And from last week, the winner again was Kerry Witt. So congratulations to Kerry. Thank you for the love hearts, peoples. And I hope you all have a fabulous week. And I hope you all keep nice and warm and out of this wet. And I hope your babies all sleep well. So can't wait to hear how things go next week. So waving the wand. Bye to everybody from Karen. Bye.